And our mission is to create a more equitable and sustainable food system. Here's what that means. In this country, there are really two food systems. We are enjoying the great one right now. But if you have money and if you have a car, you can get pretty much to any store you want or order Peapod online, and you can eat healthy or you can eat poorly. It's up to you. If you get sick, you take a Lipitor and you're done with it. If you are poor, you probably live in a neighborhood that doesn't have a grocery store, that you're eating out of convenience stores, and therefore your access to food is fairly limited. And therefore you also have a much higher preponderance of disease. Chronic diseases like cancer and diabetes, heart disease, and hypertension. These are very stratified along income lines in the US. And so Arcadia is innovating local solutions to fixing those problems. We do it in three ways. The first is sustainable agriculture, which I'm going to be talking to you guys about a little bit more. And that is growing food and teaching people to grow food, creating farmers. Sustainable farmers who are kind to the environment, kind to human health, pollinators, and wildlife, all of which hold all of the various pressures on a farm in balance. Our next piece is food access. We have two mobile markets. These are rolling farm stands. It's a market-based solution to the problem that I just talked about. We make 19 regular weekly stops in neighborhoods that are predominantly low income with heavy use of food stamps, low car ownership, and no grocery store for at least a mile. Most people are on foot. We accept and we double food stamps, so SNAP, WIC, and Senior Farmers Market nutrition vouchers. People can use that with us and they'll get twice as much food as they would otherwise afford. It's a pretty incredible program. Every year with zero budget in marketing and selling to the poorest people in the city, we have seen 50% increases in revenues. And the typical SNAP customer, the average transaction went from $8 the first year to $18 per transaction now. So they are doubling down on the amount of healthy food that they get, and that is moving the needle on public health. The third and final piece is farm and nutrition education. Changing people's habits, getting them eating actual food again instead of the processed cheap stuff that is highly addictive. It is formulated to be so. Is not an easy task. And so we start with kids. We do a lot of cooking classes for adults. But this is what Arcadia is working on. The piece that I want to talk to you about is sustainable agriculture and some of the opportunities available there. We are launching, if I get all the money, and I just got my first big grant for it, I'm waiting to hear from USDA, a multi-year training program for farmers. There's two pieces to it. The first one is called the Veteran Farmer Reserve Program. So folks who are still active duty might want to get involved in this. It's basically built on the reserve program, 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks a year. It is a deep dive into the business of farming along with lots of hands-on work. Farming is an art that you learn over many, many years, but the business of it, you have to get that stuff locked down if you're going to be an actually successful farmer. So it's a combination of those two things. 1 weekend a month, and then we separate that 2 weeks a year during the harvest and during the planting season, so that you can really figure out if this is something that you want to do. There's lots of farmers. Most new farmers in this country are selling just like $10,000 worth of food a year. They're doing it on the side. They've got a backyard farm of 1 acre or so, and they're adding to their family income. And that's a possibility for folks who go through our training program. Or they could be somebody who is about to retire with their pension. They've got a little bit of money. They decide they want to get some land, live out there, and make some money off of that land. So we can prepare people for that. The second piece of this is an apprenticeship. One of the things that we have talked to with a lot of veterans who have become farmers, they said if there was some way that I could access that GI Bill funding or some other funding to really make this possible for me, that would allow me to become a farmer. And we, working with the Virginia Labor Department and Veterans Affairs and USDA, we've identified that funding. It's apprenticeship funding, and it can supplement a salary that we would pay. So we're going to be launching an apprenticeship program as soon as we get our funds together. We'll take up to 5 full-time apprentices. They will be our employee with benefits. It's not a great paying job, but probably around $24,000 or $25,000 a year with benefits, but plus that apprenticeship money, now you're actually talking about something that could support a family. Spend a year learning on our farm and on another associated farm how to grow, really hands-on, participating in the business classes that we'll be doing, particularly with the reserve program. The second year, no pun intended, we'll farm you out to other local sustainable farms so you can learn other methods, perhaps raising, taking care of retired thoroughbreds, or livestock farming or poultry farming, or vineyards, or, sorry? Hops are a great idea. Hops are starting to take off again. There are farmers growing hops. It's a great vertical crop for beer, and they cannot sell enough. So it's, or they cannot grow enough to sell. So hops is an opportunity. Greenhouses, microgreens is ridiculous. How much money you can make growing tiny little baby greens for fancy restaurants, and flowers. So there's lots of opportunities there, and we want to give people a chance to go out and experience that, develop their network of farmers and their network of support, figure out what kind of farming they do. And then we're partnering with another nonprofit that has access to lots and lots of rich people with lots and lots of land to try to connect our graduates with affordable land, and then get them set up on that, and then we will offer them wholesale contracts to buy the food that they produce. This is entirely a selfish program for us. Our mobile markets and the restaurants that we work with that want to buy from us, they can't get enough of our food, and we can't get enough of our food because farming is an endangered species of jobs out here. Interestingly, farms, people who are farmers represent about 1% of the population. People in the military represent about 1% of the population. It's a weird mix for somebody if you haven't really thought about farming. How does this work with what you guys have done? It's not necessarily a direct transfer of skills, but it's a direct transfer of the character and the work habits that you all have developed. First and foremost, you're resilient. Trust me, we get a lot of 25-year-old kids with trust funds that come out to us in about 3 hours in the field. They want to go back home and quit. I know that that would not be a problem in this room. Second, you guys really understand how to accept professional training. Again, with the 25-year-olds with the trust funds, they really think they know everything because they read The Omnivore's Dilemma and don't necessarily think that the training will benefit them. One of the great things about military folks is you understand the value of accepting training, and you're good at it. The ability to plan and adapt and change your plans as time goes on. Farming is nothing but, I don't mean to dissuade you, crisis after crisis, and you have to have your wits about you and be able to change your plans as you go. The most important thing I think that you people bring to that field is a mission orientation. I hear from a lot of veterans who want to get trained to be farmers, and they're on our lists. One of the things that they complain about is that in the civilian world, they're sitting in this cubicle, and at 5 o'clock, everybody's up and out, and the job's not done. And they're like, we don't understand what is happening in the civilian world. How does anything get done? In farming, you do not leave at 5 o'clock. You leave when the job is done. The corn cannot wait to be harvested till the next day. The strawberries have to get out. You're out there at 4 in the morning with a light on your head, and you work until it's done. But then the next day the work is done, and you can kick back and relax a little bit. Entrepreneurs, veterans, I think you guys know, are 40% more likely to become entrepreneurs than anybody else in the country, any other demographic in the country. So combining the sort of professional work ethic that you all have, the ability to rise to physical challenges, that entrepreneurial bent, and I think with a lot of folks, the desire to not be stuck in a cubicle. This is a great field, so to speak, for a number of you all. And as I said, I've got a list of about 20 people. We haven't announced it yet, but 20 people who have asked to be trained, which already sort of overwhelms our training plan. I hope to have an announcement in August or September if we've got our full funding. One thing I refuse to do is launch this program unless I know I can support it for at least 3 years. Arcadia is involved in the entire food system. We're selling food to restaurants, we're doing direct marketing with customers, we're working in the public health arena, we're aggregating. There's lots of other stuff that you could do. We fully anticipate that people who will enter the apprenticeship program might decide that farming is not for them, but there might be another piece that they really like doing, like distribution, meeting with all the farmers, buying their stuff and getting it into the city to fancy restaurants or not so fancy restaurants, or direct to consumer sales, or warehouse management. All of this stuff is the kind of ancillary work that goes along with the food system. We want to give people an opportunity in farming to wash out with honor and without taking a lot of their savings down with them. So that's why we've constructed the program this way. If somebody thinks they're interested and they really want to do it, they can give it a try, stick it out for a year, and if it's not for them, no hard feelings, we're good with that.